Hey guys, this is Production Music Live with another tutorial. Well, someone was asking how you can write melodies in Ableton, and I thought I could quickly do a tutorial on that. It's fairly basic what we're going to talk about here. And you see 4 chords over here, and before we go into detail, if you don't know anything about chords and harmony, we have made a course on that subject, and you can check the description where we are explaining everything in big detail, and we are going through the theory of harmony and chord progressions. I assume you have seen chords in a piano roll before, so that's where I'm starting from here. I would go ahead and try to identify the chords we are playing over here, and then we move on and try to make some melodies with them. So our first chord, this one, is an A minor chord. Why is it an A minor chord? Because we are starting at the root A over here, then we are moving up, leaving a gap of 2 semitones over here, and our third in the chord is a C, and we have a gap of 3 more semitones, and our fifth in the chord is E. So 2 semitones, 3 semitones is a minor chord without any inversion. Minor chords always sound a bit more melancholic. A major chord is identified if you have 3 semitones and then followed by 2 semitones. So if we move up, now we have a major chord here. Sounds happier and more optimistic maybe. And this sounds a bit sad if you want. So this is an A minor, and the next chord is a C major. So why is it a C major if our root is a G over here? Well, it's the second inversion of the C major. If we were to sort it out correctly, we have to move up the G 1 octave. And now we see our clear C major chord over here. 3 semitones gap over here, followed by 2 semitones gap between the third and the fifth. And notice those root notes over here, they are lying 1 octave below the actual root note, just adding the bass note. So it also sounds interesting with the G up there. It sounds more optimistic that way, but we are going back and taking it down 1 octave. So this is our C major in the second inversion. Why is it the second inversion? Because the first inversion would be moving up the C. Or if we go down 1 octave with everything, would sound like this. Sounds probably quite familiar. It's a very basic chord. So our first inversion, let's move that up 1 octave again. Move down the C. No inversion here. Move down the G. Second inversion. It's very easy to identify it if you find the C in the middle of E and G. So at the second position, you're in the second inversion. If you find C in the lowest position, you're in no inversion. And if you find C in the first position up here, you're in the first inversion. It's very easy to see that way. Okay, so let's go to our next chord over here, which is our G major. Why is it a G major? Because our root note is G over here, and if we take this B down by 1 octave, it's just voiced up here, we can see 3 semitones, 2 semitones gap, the 3rd and the 5th. Again, we have the major structure. So it sounds more interesting if we move B up 1 octave, G major, and our last chord, if we go on over here, we are having the root or bass note F, and we also find the F in here, and it already rings a bell. The F is in the middle, might be the second inversion. If we quickly move up this C by 1 octave over here, we see a clear F major chord. We are starting with the root note, 3 semitones, gap, A, 2 semitones, gap, C. And it sounds like major. But we go down with the C and put in the second inversion here. All these 4 chords lie within the scale of C major. So what is the scale of C major? A scale is a sequence of preferred notes. So that's defined. And the C major scale is easily defined by the sequence of all white notes. So all white notes on your piano are the C major scale if you start at C with the root C. They are also the A minor scale if you start with the root A, but we don't want to talk about that right now. So, for example, how can you always know if you're in the scale or not? You just put in all the notes of the scale into your Ableton up here, for example. So I put in C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and I copied it 1 octave up as well. And this way, we have all the white notes of our keyboard covered. And we can make our lives easier if we find it hard to see and just fold the keyboard now. And now, whatever note we are going to play, it will be lying inside of the scale of C major, which is pretty cool. So we can't go wrong. If we are going to put in melodies now, C will be fine, B will be fine, A, G, F, all this will be fine to play throughout this chord progression. So this is, if you're starting out with it and you find it difficult to kind of figure out what notes are lying within your scale, that's an easy way of doing that. There's a difference between a chord and a scale. So this is the C major scale over here, and this over here is the C major chord. But you can have more types of chords inside of a scale. For example, if we were to check out all the chords that are lying within the C major scale, we can go to an image of our harmony course, and we see we have these chords within the C major scale. You see all the white notes are always covered by our chords, and we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and again C major. Those are the chords within our diatonic scale of C major. And in the song we are playing in Ableton, back on the in the piano roll, we are using C major, so this chord, we are using F major, G major, and A minor. So all of them are lying within the scale of C major, and we can use that to find easy melodies. So let me do that very simple now and try to draw in a melody. We just copy this note here and we go and we do that again. So you see we have already an easy melody over here. We are just using the 4-bar pattern and we are playing 4 notes every bar. Very simple. It's a 4th note of the bar and we have our easy arpeggio-like downward arpeggio melody. And in the beginning, in the first 2 chords, we are playing exactly the same one. We are altering the 3rd one and the last one stops with C, which is actually 1 octave higher, the starting note of the melody. So that's how we wrap this up. And it sounds like a closed circle. But you can also play around and, go up over here. So this is one of the easiest ways of coming up with melodies. If you know your chords and if you've identified your scale, and if you're starting out with this, I recommend just use the C major scale, use the most common chords in that one, for example, C major, G major, F major, and maybe a minor chord like A minor or E minor, and you're good to go. You can do a lot of songs like that already. So if we unfold it, it looks a bit more messy over here, because we also have the black keys inside, but we're not using them ever. So this is how you make a simple top melody. You put the melody on top of your chord. It's always on top. A piano player would play that with his right hand. So there are other ways of putting melodies into chords. For example, we could delete this. And now we can just let the piano player play something like play the chord and just use 1 finger change to play some kind of melody. I'm folding, so we see it even better. Take the double note out here. And why am I holding those notes to overlap over here? Because that's what a piano player would do. He would hold them and keep a little sustain in there. Just don't do it too long, but it also depends on the sounds you're using. If you're using a synth over here, it might not work that well because it has less attack and it's more even out in the decay time. But with the piano, it works always nice like that. And we can also change the velocities compared to the chords maybe. Piano always sounds a bit more natural with lower velocities. It sounds pretty mechanic with higher ones. So I recommend if you do piano melodies, adjust the velocities as well, just a bit. I'm just playing whatever comes through my mind, always part of the scale. So this is very, very variable over here. You can add the variety you like. I'm hearing something like this. So this sounds quite nice already. We could also add in more top notes over here. And if I would make a track out of this, I would play this with another instrument, and I would probably pan it somewhere else in my stereo spectrum, maybe a guitar or a bass, a higher played bass or something. You can also adjust the length of the pattern, and always interesting also if you kind of start with lower chords and then move up one octave maybe to get some sort of climax. So this is totally up to you. Let's go into another example. This is also a good example. So in here we are playing our, well, if you want, melody below the actual chord. So we play the chord up here and then we go. Those types of patterns always work really nice because everything remains in the scale, the chords are changing, but this pattern over here plays G, E, G, E, G, E all the way, and it always fits nicely. So this is also a great way of coming up with an interesting pattern. The sound and feeling you get from your melody also depends largely and heavily on the instrument you're playing it with. For example, if we go back to our first example, you play this a bit faster and you play it with the super saw, you have an EDM track already here. play it with strings, for example. If you go back and solo this part, or the quicker one, so you see many things are allowed over here. You can do a lot of different interesting stuff. I personally also like this pattern quite well here. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and got some ideas from it. Check the description for our course on harmony and chord progressions, where we are going to explain all the fundamentals of identifying chords and voicing nicely and showing you how to really create your own great chord progressions and melodies. For example, we are showing you a lot of these things up here and how to come up with them. Progressions like that one, or also this one. And many more. Feel free to check that out, subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you next time.